So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This is a special session of Berkeley's Global Connections. My name is Jason Camelio, and I'm joined by my colleague Ray Soul, co-producing this series of remote events that we've been doing now. It's been a year, a little over a year actually, and we're really excited for the session today because we're getting to connect with some really amazing artists and musicians, friends of ours from Thailand who are Berkeley graduates and also our partners at the Yamaha Music School Thailand, who we've been working with now for a couple of years. And this session is going to be recorded. So if you would like to go back and check it out, or if you have students or friends and colleagues that missed the opportunity to join us, they can go and take a look at this video later. We'll have it up online. Also, we're streaming it out on Facebook Live. So folks out in Facebook land, thank you for joining us. We're going to be monitoring the Facebook feed. So as we get to the point of doing questions and answers, if you have questions, you can feel free to put them in there and we'll be able to get to those as well. The focus of the session today is really talking about the experiences of three artists who are all graduates of Berkeley. And I'm going to introduce them in a minute. And the reason that we wanted to bring them to your attention is because they all have really unique, distinct backgrounds, and they're doing incredible work. And you're going to get a chance to learn about their experiences as we go forward. Before we jump into the session, though, I'd like to introduce my colleague from the Office of Admissions. He is the Assistant Director for Recruitment for the Asia region. He's a really important person for those of you that are interested in learning more about Berkeley to get to know. And he's going to share some information to kick things off today. So please join me in welcoming a fantastic guitarist. He's a boxer, so keep an eye on, on what's going on there. Great cat to hang with, Daniel Abusi. Thanks for joining us, Daniel.
Thank you so much, Jason, for your kind words. And yes, keep me away from your guitars because I'll take them. And I'm a boxer, so you can't say anything about it. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I was actually in Bangkok about a little bit over a year and a half ago, and I think I can speak on behalf of my team and say that we absolutely cannot wait to get back on the road and see you all guys in person. So that's most likely going to happen soon. So stay connected with us, and later on we're going to open it up to a Q&A. So if you have any questions, just write it down and we'll talk more about it, whatever that is Berkeley related, Yamaha related, admissions and so forth. So I have prepared just a few slides, so I'm not going to hold you on too much to show you what the admission process is like. So if you have questions about Berkeley and you're thinking about making this your career, building your sustainable career in music, how do you get started? What are your first steps? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and get right into my very brief presentation, if it's okay with you. All right. Here we are. Okay, first of all, when it comes to Berkeley, obviously, as you may imagine, there's a lot of programs and there's a lot going on campus and there's a lot to know, okay? So obviously in this 10 minutes, the amount of information that I can share with you is like limited, but don't forget to scan this QR code. So if you have your phone at hand, this is a way for you to download our digital view book, right? Where you can find all of our programs, where you can see where are we currently located in the world and a lot of cool information about Berklee College of Music, okay? And there's also contact information of our office. So later on, if you have some more specific questions, if you want to connect with me or my colleagues, this is where you will find this information. Okay, so moving forward to how to apply, your journey at Berkeley begins at this link, the red one that you see in the middle, berkeley.edu/apply. Okay, so all you have to do is to submit an online application where you're really just providing your biographical information, right? Step number 2 is you get invited for an audition and an interview, and that's where the excitement really starts, right? You are assigned a time, you're assigned a date, and you just have to show up for your interview. Usually we do this in person, so we travel the world, we travel to over 50 cities every year. But obviously, because of the pandemic and all the fun stuff that has been happening in the past year and a half, we switched to online auditioning, which is also like very, very streamlined and extremely cool. So don't miss your opportunity to show your talent, to show who you are as a musician, and sign up for the Berklee audition interview. And let's not also forget that through the Berklee audition interview, this is also how you get scholarships, right? Step number 3 would be to submit your supplemental materials, and that's usually English scores if English is not your first language, and also transcripts from your previous education. So at Berkeley, we have 3 different semesters: fall, spring, and summer. And you can see on the slide all the deadlines indicated to apply for a certain semester, right? So we're opening up application for spring 2022. When I say 2022, I just cannot convince myself we're in the year 2022, sorry. And then summer, as you can see. And then we have currently 12 majors available. I know what a lot of folks think when they apply for Berklee. They look at this list and they think, I have no idea which one I want to go for. That's an absolutely fair statement. There's a lot that comes with these majors, and there's a lot to know. The great thing about Berklee is the fact that you will not need to choose any of these majors for at least a year. So you get to audition and interview, you get to get admitted by the college, you get to study for 2 semesters at Berklee before you actually need to declare one of these. And by that time, you'll know plenty about these programs, that this selection is usually like pretty easy. You'll join our major fairs, you'll talk to our faculty, you'll talk to our department chairs, and you'll know what direction your life should take at this point. Also, if you have any specific question about any of these, we can probably answer those in the Q&A later. And speaking of the audition, like I said, after you submit your online application, you will be invited for an audition. That's where you really have to show who you are as a musician. It's your business card, right? And the audition is made of 4 parts. The first one is a prepare piece. The prepare piece is truly the business card. You come and you perform a piece of your choosing. It could be a rock piece, it could be a pop, jazz, classical, R&B. It's just a way for you to show who you really are. And you have from 3 to 5 minutes to do this. You could play 1 song, you could play 2 songs, it could be a cover, it could be an original. It's really up to you. So you really want to know who you are, right? Number 2 is improvisation. We will provide you with a backing track, right? This backing track usually has something to do with who you are, right? So if you are, let's say, a metal drummer, we'll try to like work with you and give you something that you're comfortable with. If you're a jazz musician, we'll give you something more jazzy, obviously. So we give you a backing track, you just play and play along, play your solo, and just play like you were in a practice room or you were in a studio playing with your folks. Number 3 is your training, which is a number of exercises that you need to perform on with our faculty. It usually begins with call and response, where you just have to do clapping. So our faculty will provide you with the tempo, will provide you with the rhythm, and different examples. Some are shorter, some are longer, and you have to do call and response, right? And just show us how developed your year is at this point. Together with this, there will be a number of questions more related to the music theory side of things. We're going to ask you to recognize the nature of a chord, if it's major, if it's minor, if it's diminished, 7, and so forth. Or we could ask you to identify certain notes in certain chords. And then the last part of this is going to be sight reading, where you're giving a couple of pretty short practice exercises that you have to read on the spot. And then moving forward, don't forget that through the Berklee audition, you can automatically gain scholarships. The scholarship go from very small amounts to very big amounts, all the way to full tuition, okay? So it is your chance to absolutely reshape your future with just a process that lasts no longer than 45 minutes, really, right? We have 15 minutes for the audition, 15 minutes for the interview. And we have merit-based scholarship, we have presidential scholarship that will cover for your tuition as well as your accommodation. And then we have a number of other resources on campus to make this a little bit more feasible for you in terms of financial. So we have student employment available. We have a number of outside scholarships that are not affiliated with Berkeley, but are legitimate bucket on financials and so forth. And then after your audition, you also need to interview. You will meet an admission representative. It could be me or somebody else from my department, and we'll interview for about 15 minutes. So we ask you questions. We just want to get to know you a little better. So we'll ask you a question as, what do you want to be at Berkeley? What do you think you're going to do in the future? In what way can you contribute to the community? So it sounds a lot more like a little business/work interview. And the idea is to not only get to know you musically, but also get to know you as a person. And then the last step of the process is to submit supplemental materials. We also want to make sure that you have a pretty good academic past. So you will need to submit your supplemental materials, meaning that transcripts, if you've been to college, if you just graduated in high school, we want to see how you've been performing in the previous year. And then also, if your native language is not English, you also going to need to submit English scores. So we take in TOEFL, IELTS, and Duolingo, and you can see the minimum requirements on this slide in front of you. Also, one more thing, we do not require SAT and ACT. Usually get a standing ovation when I say this during my presentation, but I'm sure that even if I get one right now, I'm not going to be able to see it. And then we also take in personal statements, song links, a letter of recommendation, just to make sure that you have a profile and an application that is built at 360 degrees. All right, so that's pretty much it for me. I'm going to pass it on back to my wonderful colleagues in Global Initiatives and Yamaha. And I'll see you all later in the Q&A.
Thanks, Daniel. That was great. It was really helpful to actually get a chance to see that quick presentation. And ladies and gentlemen, again, as you're considering your plans, take a look at the information that Daniel shared. Go to Berkeley's website and learn more. Follow us on social media, obviously, and you'll be able to get all kinds of information and updates. I'd like to just introduce two colleagues from the Yamaha Music School in Thailand who have been incredibly helpful to Berkeley over the last few years as we've been making regular visits, connecting with educators and students. Yuttapong and Gap are the leaders of the Yamaha Music School. And I'd like to just thank you both for helping to set up this event today and just give you an opportunity to maybe share a little bit about the work that you're doing with your program.
Thank you very much, Jason. Actually, for Yamaha Music School, we established in Thailand since our founder of Siam Motor Company Limited, Dr. Thawon Photpapa, got the recommendations of Mr. Kenji Kawakami, who is the chairman of Yamaha Music Foundation at that time, to open the first Yamaha Music School here. In 1966 until now, we have around 82 branches, and will be 90 branches within this year. And to reflect our visions of the founder that he wants to see Thailand as the Vienna city of the East. Until now, I think that we are very close, as Yamaha has a strong educational partner like Berkeley College of Music. Anyway, we can go further and further. And Yamaha Music's education philosophy, as many person know, we want everyone enjoy the music because we believe that everyone has a musical sense that they born with, just to feel who their humanity. We don't expect all the students to be a musicians, but they can be everything. They want to using the power of music to motivate their life. However, I think that we still have many students who decide to learn music and work in music industry, or will let fail. And this is a good chance to all of you to learn and to discuss with our friends that has a strong experience in music career, and also study music in their higher education. In the Yamaha universe, we also have many fun things waiting for you to discover. Musician, artist, teacher, producer, club DJ, sound designer, music business person, etc., etc. If you love to do everything about the music, please don't hesitate to contact us. Yamaha, we can be your best friend. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate this opportunity to connect with you. It's been a while, and as Daniel said, I know we're looking forward to getting back there to see you soon. So without further ado, I want to jump in and introduce three amazing artists who are graduates of Berkeley. Some of them were students in the Yamaha program as well. And this is just it's a great opportunity to connect with them, to learn about their experiences as artists, as students, and they're here for you. They're here to, actually speak with you, share some details, and also answer your questions. The first person I'd like to introduce is a singer-songwriter. She was born in Bangkok. She's got a passion for visual arts, music, culture, creative writing, animation, and filmmaking. She graduated from Berkeley in 2019 as a vocalist, and she majored in the major called professional music, which she focused on songwriting, music recording and production, and arranging. She was a scholarship student, and she graduated with honors. During her time there, she was able to release actually her first album, which is called Just a Thought, in 2018, and a couple of singles, Nyan and Por Lao, and many other collaborations she did with students from around the world and artists from around the world while she was at Berkeley. She's performed at notable venues such as the Lincoln Center in New York City and at the Berkeley Performance Center. And she's still doing great work and collaborating with musicians all around the world. Please join me in welcoming Miss Jenny T. Jenny, you're muted. Sorry.
Hi, it's me.
Great. Thank you for being here. Also, we've got an incredible violinist, jazz violinist. Again, Berkeley graduate. He actually, before coming to Berkeley, he's played since he was a really young musician. He studied at the Silpakorn University and got a degree in jazz studies before coming to Berkeley as a scholarship student. While he was at Berkeley, he actually applied and got into a special program called the Berkeley Global Jazz Institute that's run by Danilo Perez. And he studied with Danilo, with Joe Lovano, Dave Liebman, David Gilmour, Kenny Warner, Ben Street, John Patitucci, Terry Lynn Carrington, and loads of other incredible artists. He was able to actually go out and tour and play across Asia, Europe, the United States, and he worked with people like Jack DeJohnette, Esperanza Spalding, Jacob Collier, Gary Burton, Mike Gibbs, one of my favorites, Mike Gibbs, amazing writer, Bill Frisell, Dave Fuzinski, Suzanne Vega, Daryl Anger, Dennis Montgomery, and others. He's like, as his name says, he's a ball of energy, great energy, excellent artist, musician, person, and teacher. Please join me in welcoming Volt.
Hello everyone, I'm Volt.
And Volt actually just told us right before this session that you just did your presentation for your graduate studies. You just finished your master's degree, right?
Not finished yet. I just done some work project.
Cool. All right. And our third artist that's with us has been doing incredible work since graduating from Berkeley. I knew you at Berkeley as you're a bassist. But you were studying music production, and you've done so many interesting things in your time since being at Berkeley and in your career back in Thailand. You're the CEO, and you founded a company called Jamster, and your goal is to really up the game of the music that's being created in Thailand, to bring it to really an international level and bring the music scene to a world-class level. You've been away from Berkeley now. It's been, probably close to 6 years, but in that time you've done incredible work. There's so many things that we can dig into, and we'll talk about that as we get into the session. But one of the things that you've been noted as saying is that, things in your career have not always been easy, but whatever you do it with passion, and it's going to end up working out. And so those are great words to kind of reference and stand by as you develop your careers. And in looking at the work that Luke has done, you can see that he's producing fantastic artists in through his company. So Luke, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, guys, and very nice to meet all of you.
Cool. So to jump in, and again, as we go through this session, if you do have questions, feel free. You can drop them into the chat. For folks out on Facebook, you can send them in there, and our friends that are following the Facebook feed will feed them over to us as well. But the first question I have for Jenny and Volt and Luke is, if you could think back to those early experiences when you decided that music was the thing that you wanted to do. And could you maybe share if there was like maybe a teacher or a musical experience, or what was it that kind of like ignited that that thing in your mind that was like, this is the thing that I've got to do. I've got to be doing something creatively in music. Maybe Jenny, if you can start and kind of jump in and think back to what was it that kind of really got you inspired?
Actually, for me, I think I have a very clear one experience, and I don't think that person even knows it, that she changed my life. But basically, when I was in elementary school, I've always loved creative things such as art. Actually, I think I was more into visual arts when I was in nursery and stuff. But then when I went to elementary school, there was this one girl who's a few years older than me, and she was the school singer. Even though we were just elementary school kids, she would perform in every talent show at our school and every contest in our school and stuff. So I remember watching her sing this one Thai song called Gon Hin Gon Nan by a singer called Rose, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna sing that song. And then I went home and then I just sang that song repeatedly. And I remember this girl, she would sing only this song for a month in every in every school show. She would just sing this one song. So I just sang that one song for the whole year, secretly at home. And then I thought okay, I wanna sing. And then that was the moment, I think.
Cool. So it was a teacher that really got you inspired. That's great. That's really cool to hear.
I mean, she was a student too, but I think she was my teacher. Yeah, she was
wow.
just a few. She was maybe 7 years old, and I was 5. I think it was something like that. Yeah.
Oh my God! Wow. Okay.
So she was a young kid at school.
Very, very cool. And how about you, Volt? Do you remember that instance where you were just kind of because you started playing young. You started playing violin when you were really young.
Yeah, so I think for me it's I start to play when I start to play in church. I growing up with playing in church, and at my church, people there just welcome me to play since I was 9 years old. So I'm very young. I don't even know how to play in tune on the on the violin, but they still let me play, and I keep playing that until at one point that when I start to understand more about what should I do, what should I play on the stage, and I can see the reaction from the people in the audience in the church that uh, they 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 enjoy it, and they got blessed somehow, and I feel like I get something back from them, and I just think wow, this made me really happy, and that's make me okay, I really want to do it more, and I want to do it more in something different from from just reading the music. So I start to interesting in jazz and interesting in improvisation, and with the violin it's really weird for where I come from, for Thailand, because we don't have that yet. But after that I start to okay, I want to have more vocabulary. I want to have more music in my mind, in myself, to be able to play for other people. So that's bring me go further to learn more about the vocabulary in every kind of music, and I want to be able to connect to other people.
Yeah. So it's been a journey so far. You're kind of, you're continuing the search from those early days of picking up the instrument and getting inspired to play. That's great.
Thank you.
Luke, you've probably, can you tell us what was your first instrument?
Oh, my first instrument actually was piano.
Okay.
I started learning piano when I was around 5, but I think my passion for music really started when it started with it being a crush on a girl. So that's how it happened. So I saw this girl playing bass at school, and I was like, I'm gonna impress her. So I need to do something. So I went home to my dad and I was like, Dad, I need to take bass lessons. And he straight away called Yamaha in Chiang Mai, and he was like, okay, you're gonna start taking bass lessons next week. And then I went every single week, and then it got kind of boring. But then I started doing the competitions, the Yamaha Thailand music festivals.
Right.
I got really into it, and it became a passion, I guess.
Wow. So piano was first. And so were you doing the competitions on piano?
No, I just did private lessons.
You did
piano.
private lessons. Cool. And then, but Jenny and Volt, did either of you study with Yamaha as well?
I actually studied piano with Yamaha since I was really young.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How about you, Volt?
I'm not, unfortunately.
That's okay. No, I was just wondering. That's great. So you're young folks. You're getting inspired. You're playing music. You had different aspects of your life that kind of like turned you on to music, and you're getting close to finishing high school. You're starting to think about what you're going to do in your career, and suddenly you decide you're going to go and study music. Volt, you kind of like talked a little bit about this because you wanted to expand your vocabulary, your musical experience, so you had more tools in your musical toolkit. But maybe Volt and actually Luke and Jenny, can you talk a little bit? Do you remember what it was that was like, I need to go to college, I need to go to university and do music? What was it? Do you remember the thing that kind of like led you down that path?
Jason, sorry for jump up. Actually, we have a Thai fan that is possible like to let our guests to speak both Thai and English together.
Sure, that's totally fine. That's great. If you can if you for our guests, if you feel comfortable, if you can share your story in Thai and then in English, that's cool. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So maybe Luke, do you want to talk? Can you think about what it was that when you decided I need to go and study in university. I need to study music.
Again, I think it was a choice my dad gave me actually. He kind of brought up because I was really into sports too. I really like playing soccer, football, and then at that time he told me that like if I went down this path of playing football, it probably wouldn't take me anywhere because back in the days in Thailand, football wasn't that big. So he was just like, you should do something that you could like you like and you have passion for, and it's gonna like help expand your like what do you got like ways in life or whatever he called it. And then so I applied to a bunch of colleges in America, and actually I got to learn about Berkeley from my teacher at Yamaha. He told me it was his dream school since he was like young, and he kind of was the one who kind of inspired me to like really want to get to the point where I could go and study there. Yeah.
Cool. You mind just sharing that in Thai for our guests here? Sorry.
ก็เริ่มมาจากการที่คุณพ่อครับก็ตั้งคำถามขึ้นมาให้ว่าถ้ายังจะเลือกเล่นบอลต่อมันจะไปได้ไกลแค่ไหนมันคงไปได้ไม่ไกลมากเลือกดนตรีดีกว่าอะไรเงี้ยครับก็เลยตอนนั้นก็เลยแบบตั้งใจกับเรื่องดนตรีมากแล้วก็มีอาจารย์ที่ยามาฮ่าชื่อครูโจ้ครับที่ยามาฮ่าเชียงใหม่เขาก็บอกว่าเนี่ยมันเป็นโรงเรียนในฝันของเขาชื่อว่าโรงเรียน Berkeley College of Music แล้วแบบเขาก็บอกว่าเอ้ยไปลอง apply ดูถ้าเข้าได้มันแบบเท่มากอะไรเงี้ยครับก็เลยตั้งใจที่จะไปอยู่ที่นั่น
Cool. Thanks, man. And how about you, Jenny? Do you remember what it was that you're like, okay, I'm going off to university. I'm going to do this music thing. I'm going to jump in, both feet. What was it that kind of like helped you make that decision?
Actually, for me, like, I never planned to go to music college at all. even when I was applying for universities at that time, like I think this is like an important thing about Berkeley. So basically at that time I thought that all music schools were only classical and then you just have to go in and play like a conservatory style. So I thought that I can never go to music school because I'm not that like amazing classically. Like I only could play the piano and then I wasn't so good at it. So I thought that there's no way I'm studying music. I just thought that I would go to like a visual arts school and then make music on my own. But um I always wanted to like do music like professionally, but then I just didn't think that I had to go to college for it because I thought that it's not like a classical thing, you know what I mean, that I could do. But then what happened was my brother actually went to college in Northeastern and
Oh,
yeah, and then he just told me like, oh, next to my school there's like a college about music, like you should just take a summer camp here. So it started with the 5-week summer program. Yeah, I just went there like planning to go there for a summer camp and I wasn't thinking of applying for a college at all. But then after I got to 5 week, like I realized that Berkeley is more than just like classical music or more than just like performance even. Like there are so many things about music in Berkeley. So I really like that really opened my eyes and I auditioned at the end of the 5-week camp and then that's when I decided I wanted to go to Berkeley.
could
Yeah.
you share that in Thai for our audience out in Facebook?
ก็คือความจริงแล้วแบบว่าก่อนหน้านี้นะคะเจนนี่ก็ไม่ได้อยากแบบเรียนดนตรีในมหาลัยเลยเพราะว่าเข้าใจว่าเรียนดนตรีในมหาลัยคือมันจะต้องเป็นดนตรีคลาสสิกอย่างเดียวต้องแบบอ่านโน้ตเล่นเพลงคลาสสิกอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะแล้วก็ตัวเองก็ไม่ได้ชอบเล่นเพลงคลาสสิกขนาดนั้นแต่ว่าพอดีพี่ชายเขาไปมหาลัยที่ติดกับเบิร์กลีย์เขาก็เลยแนะนำว่าน่าจะมาที่เบิร์กลีย์ตอนมาเข้าค่ายแบบแค่มาเข้าค่ายตอนซัมเมอร์อะไรเงี้ย ก็เลยลองได้มาเข้าค่าย 5 week summer program ของ Berkeley ค่ะ แล้วก็เลยได้เรียนรู้ว่าแบบโรงเรียนนี้มันมีอะไรมากกว่าแค่เล่นดนตรีด้วยซ้ำมันแบบมี sound design มี production มีแต่งเพลงอะไรมากมายหลังจากนั้นก็เลย audition ตอนที่จบแคมป์ค่ะแล้วก็
That's
เลยมา
that's so cool. That's a great story.
Something like
That it's just like out of it was a unique experience that your brother helped connect you, and you came to the summer
I feel
program.
bad because it doesn't sound like I dreamed of coming to Berkeley, you know what I
No,
mean?
but
Like
this is
everyone
it's still cool because you did the summer program, which is a great way
yeah
to learn. It's you had a small taste of that experience. Volt, your situation's different because
Yeah.
you had an undergraduate degree. You had already gone to Silpakorn, which is they have an excellent music program there. And then you decided that you wanted to come to Berkeley. Can you talk about that decision and why you decided you needed to go do more?
So the program that I did is a jazz study, and the thing is, when I studied there, I don't have the direct teacher who teach me a jazz violin directly, so I have to take a major from a jazz teacher who teach me a private lesson who play piano,อาจารย์ซันรัตนะวงศ์สันเสริญ and I have to take another private lesson from a classical teacher who teach me a violin. So I had to take two private lesson and two ensemble all the time in Thailand, like classical chamber as well, chamber music and the jazz ensemble as well. So like I kind of be on the to side all the time. So after I graduate, I feel like I'm not good at both of them yet. So I want to like to have more ground to me to myself. So at first I want to go to France because at that time I really into gypsy jazz music and and because a violin is like one of the foundation of a gypsy jazz music and it's in the jazz style and violin. So I looking a plan to like to go to France and the cost and everything and it's just like wow this more possible at that time in the meantime I also have Berkeley in mind as well because like Berkeley is like it's pretty good school and Berkeley have a teacher who teach it directly for the jazz violin lesson for sure and a lot of teacher that is like amazing, but like it's too far for me because I didn't come from a rich family at all, and I think it's gonna be hard for my financial. So I just like, okay, I keep French here and I keep Berkeley like very far away, but still in my mind that okay, this cool, this cool, this cool, but okay, I will try French first. So I take a French lesson and went to French to like to see like how it's going on there, how is life there, and I see like wow, this gonna be not that easy at all because like if I have to go to take a master degree in French and I have to learn like history music in another language, it's gonna be like one of the very tough thing for me. So I just like okay, seem like hard, but I still want to go further. So why not I try the Berkeley? At that time, Berkeley have a admission in Malaysia, and I just like okay, it doesn't much money to fly there and to apply. So why not I try? So I try and things work out, and I just like wow, okay, then I have to go for it for now, and that's how it happened.
That's quite a journey. So you're trying to follow in the footsteps. You're trying to be the next Stefan Grappelli or something like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So could you share that for our folks out on Facebook as well? In
Okay,
Thai?
sure.ก็ตอน
The
แรก
abridged
จริง
version.
โอเคก็ตอนแรกผมจบจากศิลปากรครับก็ช่วงที่เรียนที่ศิลปากรเนี่ยปัญหาก็คือเครื่องที่ผมเรียนผมเล่นไวโอลินแล้วผมก็เล่นแจ๊สด้วยซึ่งเราเรียนอยู่ในเมเจอร์ที่เป็นแจ๊สแล้วนะตอนนั้นเนี่ยเราไม่มีอาจารย์ที่เป็นอาจารย์ไวโอลินแจ๊สโดยตรงเราก็จะมีอาจารย์ที่สอนไวโอลินคลาสสิกเราแล้วก็อาจารย์ที่สอนแจ๊สกับเราแต่ว่าเป็นเครื่องอื่นที่จะมาสอนเราเพราะนั้นผมก็เลยต้อง take private lesson 2 ตัวของคลาสสิกกับของแจ๊สensemble ก็ต้อง take เป็น2แบบก็คือเป็น jazz ensemble แล้วก็เป็นclassical ensemble ด้วยทีนี้ตอนนั้นพอเราจบมาเราก็รู้สึกว่าเฮ้ยทั้ง2ฝั่งที่เราเรียนมาเนี่ยมันยังไม่ดีทั้งตัว basic skill เองของการเล่นคลาสสิกแล้วก็สกิลในการเล่นแจ๊สเรารู้สึกว่าเราอยากที่จะเพิ่มเติมอยากที่จะเรียนรู้มากขึ้นแล้วก็ณตอนนั้นเนี่ยผมกำลังอินกับดนตรีจิปซีแจ๊สมากๆก็เลยตัดสินใจว่าลองดูโรงเรียนในฝรั่งเศสดูแล้วกันเพราะว่าค่าเทอมในฝรั่งเศสอย่างที่เรารู้กันก็คือจะถูกกว่าฝั่งยุโรปเนี่ยมันจะถูกกว่าฝั่งอเมริกาค่อนข้างเยอะอยู่เหมือนกันถ้าเกิดเรา afford มันไหวทีนี้ผมก็ในขณะที่ดูฝรั่งเศสไว้เนี่ยเราก็รู้แล้วเราต้องเรียนภาษาฝรั่งเศสแล้วก็เริ่ม take course แล้วก็ในขณะเดียวกันก็คือมีเบิร์กลีย์อยู่ไกลๆเลยเพราะว่าเบิร์กลีย์ก็เป็นโรงเรียนที่ค่อนข้างครบเครื่องสำหรับมันเป็นโรงเรียนที่ตอบโจทย์สำหรับเราที่อยากจะไปเรียนแล้วเขามีครู private โดยตรงแล้วครู private ก็คือเก่งมีผลงานให้เห็นมีลูกศิษย์ที่แบบจบมาแล้วก็เก่งในด้านแจ๊สไวโอลินเนี่ยเยอะมากๆนะครับก็เลยเก็บไว้ไกลๆเพราะมันแพง ก็เลยยังไม่ได้ตั้งใจที่จะเข้าไปที่เบิร์กลีย์นะตอนนั้นก็เลยไปลองฝรั่งเศสก่อนลองที่จะไปถึงฝรั่งเศสไปเจออาจารย์ไปเจอคนนู้นคนนี้ที่นั่นแล้วก็ทำให้รู้ว่าโหมันไม่ง่ายเลยแน่ๆถ้าเกิดแบบมาเรียนแล้วต้องมาเรียนอย่างมาเรียนแบบวิชาดนตรีในภาษาฝรั่งเศสที่เราไม่คุ้นเคยเลยขนาดภาษาอังกฤษตอนนั้นก็คิดว่าน่าจะยากมากๆอยู่เหมือนกันอะไรเงี้ยครับก็เลยพอกลับมาที่ไทยช่วงนั้นประจวบเหมาะกับการที่ไทยที่มาเลมี Berkeley admission พอดีผมก็เลยได้ลองไปสมัครลองดูว่ามาเลไม่ได้ไกลมากค่าบินไปไม่ได้แพงมากค่าเรียนไม่ได้แพงมากค่าสมัครไม่ได้แพงมากเพราะนั้นลองบินไปสอบดูแล้วกันก็ได้ลองบินไปสอบดูแล้วก็ผลก็ออกมาว่าเราได้ไปเราก็เลยแบบโอเคงั้นเราก็เลยลุยเชื่อไปที่เบิร์กลีย์ครับ
Cool. Man, thank you so much. So I have one more question for the three of you before we turn this over to our audience. And for those of you that are in the audience, you can feel free to think of your questions now. You can put them in the chat. But if you'd like to, we'd like to actually bring you on camera and have you turn on your mic and ask your questions directly of our guests or for any of us at Berkeley or at Yamaha Music in Thailand, the Yamaha Music School. So be thinking of those questions now. But for you, Jenny and Luke and Volt, this question I have now is two parts. If you could talk a little bit about the work you're doing now and what you're hoping to do, as you're going forward with your careers. And, if you could be a little reflective too in thinking of our audience, if there's some things that you experienced that you're like, I wish I had done this, or here's some tips for the audience about as you're looking to, go down this pathway of building your career and working in music. What are the one or two things that you would, tell your younger self if you had the opportunity? So maybe Jenny, if you can tell us a little bit about what you're working on now with your music, and then, what is it that you would tell your younger self and say, hey, just remember, here are a couple of important things as you go down the road on this journey. So right now, what are the things that you're working on? You're in your studio, you got your project studio there, you're writing and doing some music these days?
Yeah, so let me think about how I should answer this. What am I doing now? First one.
Yeah, first one. Yeah.
Okay, first one. So what am I doing now? Basically, before COVID started, since around like the time of COVID, I've been making my album. But then because of the COVID and like moving around to different places, that has really been delayed and delayed. But I'm slowly getting back at it, and I think right now like I'm gonna have a new artist name and like a whole new project, but it's not announced yet, so you'll hopefully see it.
So you're working on developing a new persona, new project, and maybe in the coming year you'll be sharing that. And then as you're thinking back to like, here you are talking to your younger self, and you're like, hey, here's a couple of things that as you go down this road as an artist, things that you should remember, things that you want to keep an eye on.
I feel like the biggest thing that I realized is skill is easy, but keeping your passion is hard. That's like that's the biggest thing that I want to tell like younger people who are doing music, because I feel like when you're young, like when I was younger, the goals that I had in mind were all like very like skill based. I mean, not like completely like all like skill based, but there were things such as like I want to play all of these chords on the guitar. I want to learn all of these scales. I want to write like 20 songs using this, that. Like I want to produce with this technique, like for example, like all of those skills. And back then I thought that like, wow, it will take me like 50 years to do all of this stuff. It will be so hard, and I need to practice 20 hours a day to be able to play all of those scales and everything. But then so I did like do the 20-hour a day like practice and whatever in my first few years at Berkeley. And then I realized that actually I could reach all of those skill milestones like faster than I thought. But then I really lost my passion even faster. So I realized that like you don't need to be like that stressed and like try that hard. I mean, you have to work hard on your instruments, but you don't have to like be that stressed and like plan out like a 10-hour routine practice every day and like kill yourself over it, because in the long run that's gonna be the thing that destroys your passion, I think. And it will take like much longer to regain the passion, than just like if you practice moderately and then you enjoy your life and then you go out and you meet your friends, you jam with friends, you don't just lock yourself in a practice room, like I think that in the long run you will get to your big goals much faster if you don't spread yourself out too thin.
So what you're saying then is that it's really a matter of trying to find balance.
Yeah, balance.
Yeah, so it's the balance between the hard work and the creativity and the collaboration. So can you share that with our audience in Thai?
สิ่งที่คิดว่าได้เรียนรู้นะคะจากการเล่นดนตรีนานๆแล้วก็แบบจากการเรียนดนตรีคือเรารู้สึกว่าเรื่องทักษะหรือว่าแบบเป้าหมายต่างๆที่มันเป็นเชิงรูปธรรมอะค่ะมันง่ายกว่าที่เราคิดไว้ตอนเด็กๆแต่ว่าสิ่งที่มันยากที่สุดในการเล่นดนตรีคือเรื่องความรู้สึกแบบว่า passion อะไรแบบนี้หรือว่าเรื่องแบบ ไฟในการทำงานก็ได้หรือความรักในเพลงอะค่ะเรารู้สึกว่าตอนที่ทุกคนแบบเป็นเด็กๆอะทุกคนก็จะแบบมีเป้าหมายในทางแบบทักษะเยอะว่าแบบฉันจะเล่นให้ได้เท่านี้จะเล่นเร็วเท่านี้จะต้องเล่นกรูฟให้ได้ทุกแบบอะไรอย่างเงี้ยแต่ว่าพอมาแบบทำเข้าจริงๆแล้วแบบว่ามานั่งซ้อมแบบวันละ10 ชั่วโมงแบบแป๊บเดียวอย่างเงี้ยมันจะรู้ตัวเลยว่าความจริงไอ้เป้าหมายพวกนั้นอะมันทำแป๊บเดียวก็ได้แล้วถ้าเกิดแบบเคร่งเครียดกับมันมากใช่ไหมแต่ว่าสิ่งที่มันจะเสียไปถ้าเกิดเราทำแบบนั้นน่ะก็คือความรักในดนตรีแล้วก็แบบความชอบแรงบันดาลใจทั้งทุกอย่างซึ่งแบบเราตอนเด็กๆเราก็เป็นหนึ่งในคนที่คิดว่าเอ้ยเราเป็นคนที่รักดนตรีมากมันไม่มีทางที่เราจะเบิร์นเอาท์ได้แน่นอนเพราะว่าเราแบบชอบมันมากแต่ว่าไอ้เรื่องการเบิร์นเอาท์ต่างๆมันจะเกิดขึ้นโดยที่ไม่รู้ตัวแล้วแบบอยู่ดีตื่นมาเราก็จะรู้ตัวแล้วมันก็จะสายเกินไปว่าแบบโอ้ยที่ผ่านมาเราแบบหนักกับมันมากเกินไปก็เลยอยากจะบอกทุกคนที่แบบเริ่มเล่นดนตรีว่าแบบการมีการมีเป้าหมายมีแบบแพชชั่นมีแรงบันดาลใจอะไรเงี้ย มันเป็นเรื่องที่ดีแต่ว่าก็ต้องรู้ตัวเองด้วยแล้วก็ต้องบาลานซ์ให้ถูกไม่ได้ว่าแบบเออไม่ได้พุ่งชนหนักเกินไปจนทำให้เราแบบลืมไปว่าเราเริ่มทำมันเพราะอะไรเนี่ยค่ะ
Cool. Thank you, Luke.
Something like that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Luke, you've done so many different things since graduating Berkeley, writing, producing, performing. You've been on TV. Can you tell us a little bit about Jamster and the work that you're doing with the company that you've created?
All right, so right now I just started up a new music label called Jamster. We're a sub label to another label called 28 Recording Label. And basically what 28 Recording Label is actually is one of the biggest studios in Southeast Asia. We do a lot of like orchestra recordings and like movie recordings, like film scoring things. But as for my sub label, I'm trying to create a new standard for Thai music and just like the music scene here in general. I'm trying to do things different, more different than the other big labels here. Because I really think like the past few years, like at least like the past 10 years in Thailand, every single label is like trying to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to put artists into the same factory. They come out looking basically identical or like their musics are like very close. And it's like it's not going anywhere. Like that's one of the things I felt that I was lacking when I got to Berkeley. Could I actually go back to that or is that too far?
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's an interesting topic.
So like growing up in Thailand, I felt like the exposure, like music exposure I was getting wasn't as much as like my colleagues were getting. So like when I got there, I didn't really understand like R&B music or like any other type of jazz or whatever. I was like really deep into like the Japanese T-pop. I mean, not Japanese T-pop. What's it called? Japanese fusion and like all that other stuff. And then I didn't really know what was going on. And then that was like the thing that I felt was lacking in Thailand. So that's like what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to fill up the gaps.
And could you share that in Thai? Just because that's really, I think, an important point for folks to hear is about being unique and finding your own voice, right?
ก็จริงๆตอนนี้ที่ทำอยู่ก็เป็นค่ายเพลงครับชื่อว่า Jamster เพิ่งเปิดมาใหม่เป็นค่ายลูกของสตูดิโอ28ครับแล้วก็สิ่งที่กำลังทำกับค่ายเพลงเนี้ยคือทำให้วงการดนตรีมันแบบได้ก้าวหน้าเข้าขึ้นไปในไทยแล้วก็ทำให้คนยอมรับในแบบเขาเรียกว่าไงแนวเพลงที่มันแตกต่างออกไปจากค่ายอื่นอะไรเงี้ยครับแล้วก็อยากให้มันมี international standard ที่เราสามารถแบบให้เด็กรุ่นใหม่ในประเทศไทยหรือว่าใครต่างๆให้แบบเข้ามาแล้วก็รู้สึกฟังแล้วมี inspiration แล้วก็อะไรประมาณนี้ครับ I don't know how to explain it.
Well, no, it's cool. Well, maybe folks will have questions about this and we can dig into it a little bit. But think back too now is, because you've started your own company. And your own label, 28 Studio. For those of you that don't know this facility, if you ever have a chance to check it out or stop by, for a musician, it's kind of like heaven. It's awesome. The place is an incredible space to create in. But as you're thinking back, in meeting yourself back when you're, studying music younger, what are some of the things that you'd remind yourself and say, hey, here's some ththings you should really take a look at?
But honestly, for me, I think it's like the like I don't know how bad it is in other countries, but you know how like in some Asian countries, parents or even like people of an older generation, they're not as accepting of other occupations as like music. Like, you know, wait, how would I put this? Like they
Yeah,
don't
that's
really like music
a
as an
career.
yeah, it's not it's like kind of frowned upon, you know. It's like your parents are gonna like tell their friends like, oh, my son's a musician and feel proud about it, you know. So that's one thing that I think I thought I found very challenging was like a lot of my parents' friends or people around me, even like my friends or whatever, they always kind of ask me like, hey, like what are you gonna do with music? And that kind of like discouraged me most of the time when I was like trying to build up what I'm doing like today. So like for me, what I would tell my younger self would be just to have faith and just keep moving towards your passion and just don't listen to other people. I think I lost my ways a bunch of times because I cared too much about what other people thought. Yeah, and that's one thing that you really gotta deal with and just know how to, you know, move forward with it.
Well, this is interesting. It's because I know, knowing the three of you, you're not singularly a thing in music. Each of you does multiple things as creators, as collaborators. You're not just, I think in the music world, there is this idea that being a musician is this sort of like a singular thing. It's either you're the person on stage and that's it, or you're not. And maybe the idea is that getting people to understand that there is an actual structure that allows for this to happen. You know, if you're, you as a producer, you have the artists, you have the engineers, you have all the other musicians, all the other people that are part of the creative process, right? And then there's the whole mechanism around promoting and bringing the artist out into the world, or the business side of connecting the art and the music to media, whether it's now streaming services, TV, movies, and the monetization of, you can actually make money doing lots of different things being a creative person in the music industry. Are you all finding that with your work these days?
Oh, yeah, I guess I could say the like royalties collection and monetization here isn't as good as it is in the States, but it's getting there for sure. Like we do still make a decent amount of money from YouTube, which
Okay.
is really weird. But uh, actually, I think the main source of income for our music as like a music label would be the events and the products that our artists get. So I do
Great.
find that music it's like you said, music, there's lots of you don't really have to be on stage. You can just like you can be a producer, you can just be a songwriter, and you can just like still make a living from it, you know.
Right. Volt, are you doing other things in addition to just performing? Because now with COVID, you're kind of locked down. So how is it that you're actually able to, generate income and keep creating and doing new things?
So for this COVID situation, so like before this wave, so now in Thailand it's like I could say it's the third wave already, and this last one is like pretty hard one. It's pretty huge one. A lot of artists got COVID. Also, one of the artists in Look uh label as well, right? No, not her, but one, yeah, the band member of her band like also got a COVID as well. So like a lot of artists and people in Thailand now got a COVID, and I think this gonna be last for like maybe a few months, some month. And like before that, before this wave, what I found is like um I start to come back to touring with one of the artists in Thailand that that quite busy, like, and I can like keep my life in tour, and I gonna have enough income for my living. But COVID happens again, so I have to come back to the old style teaching. I teaching in a international school as well, so that's was keep me alive right now, like for the living costs. Um, and beside that, I have to for me, I one of another thing that I really like to do beside the music is cooking as well. Like the first wave of the COVID, I start to cook something, and I have start to open some restaurant by myself. And it's kind of work for me because like people need to eat, people need to like have some food all the time. But for music now, a lot of music is free, and make music, and it's hard to get an income if we're not going to the perform, or if we cannot go to tour. So for me right now, I what make me be able to like keep living and keep creating is find a way to teach in a in in a different way from what is happening right now, like post more stuff on the on the media, social media, to get people know who am I, to get people know that what I have in different in other teacher or in other musician. And so it's like for me now, I'm teaching mostly for the jazz violin, and I try to sell myself like, okay, I'm jazz violin teacher. I can help you to be able to improvise if you want to play in a pop band, if you want to play in a rock band, or if you want to know how to improvise, I gotta help you for that. So that's what am I doing right now, to like promoting myself as a jazz instructor for especially for violin. And after I get at least like for Thailand, after I get at least like maybe 5 or 10 students, now I can live without thinking about how to make money anymore. So you know, one of the thing that make me like very hard to be creative is like when I worry about money.
Yeah.
that's that's like that's make my imagination, make my creativity, it's like go far away and straight everything out so much. So I think I have to figure out this problem first about the money first.
Yeah.
So after I can figure out this, I think I will be more free, have more freedom in a creative thing.
But you're also a student. You're working on your graduate studies, and you're learning lots
Yeah.
about, you know, new media and augmented reality and virtual reality and this new environment, which is, you know, growing globally, especially
Yeah.
around video games, and the idea that, you know, the fastest growing market globally for music creation is actually in the video game industry. And
That's
gaming
right.
is something that is super exciting. So you don't have to be an orchestral composer. You can be writing pop songs. You can be writing all kinds of music for this incredibly fast-growing gaming industry that's happening in different parts of the world. It's a really geographically based sort of phenomenon where there's games that are for specific markets. And you know, these are mobile device games, these are game console games, you know, things for your machines, and you're kind of digging into that as well with your studies in new media, right?
So yeah, I study in entertainment innovation. So like in a thing that technology and entertainment industry like could be gathered together. What I learned a lot from this program right now is like uh how to think as a businessman, and how to think as a like the design thinking way, how to make a business canvas, how to make things like more realistic in the real world. So I could like put it together with the music as well, and also about the video game, and make a song for a game or for the film stuff. Recently I also do the like when artists want me to recording something, want a violin in a song. I build this studio right now that you see. to be able to recording from my studio and make sure that they have a good sound, a good quality to be able to use in the real world. So yeah, so I try to be able to like finish thing about string section in my studio. That what I like working on here as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the same thing. Like I have, I've been doing trombone sections for people. So, yeah, I mean, it's just sort of, you have to create the home studio to, you know, just
Yeah.
do this work for folks, and it's great. I'd like to turn it, because we're at the top of the hour, and I know that people have other things on their schedules, and our artists, thank you for joining us, but it'd be great to take a few questions from our audience. Anybody that would like to add a question into the chat, please do that. Things about what these incredible artists are doing, you know, things that you want to ask them about their experience. We would love to hear from you. You can raise your little Simpsons looking Zoom hand as well, and ask a question. You can come on video, or if you want, we can you can, you know, add it in the chat. We did have one question that came in from Facebook, which is just a general question about Berkeley and the summer programs. And the question was, you know, is there an age that you need to be in order to come to the summer programs in Boston? And there is, you know, you need to be at least 15 years old. And we are having summer programs at Berkeley on campus this summer. So, you know, if you're looking to come this summer, we'd love to see you. We know that it's incredibly challenging. There's so many obstacles, especially with the pandemic taking place, but we are going to have events on campus, and we're also going to do online summer programs as well. So, you know, be sure to go to berkeley.edu/summer. I'll put that in here, berkeley.edu/summer, and you can take a look at all the programs. But questions, what are the questions that that people have that they would like to ask? I'm going to take off the spotlight for everybody, and we'll just see everybody's awesome faces here, and you can jump in and, you know, go to gallery view and take a look and see. What are the questions that you have? Anybody would like to ask a question? Go ahead, please. Yep. Tajuda?
Hi, my name is Taya. I have some general questions. The first one is, I wrote it here. Are we gonna have the audition in Thailand? Because I heard that you guys usually come to Thailand for the audition. What about this year?
Daniel, are you able to answer that for us?
Yes, I'm able to answer that. So as of now, all the auditions are online for a number of reasons. Just like what I was specifying in the beginning, we really cannot wait to get back on the road, and we usually do this in person. So we were in a Yamaha doing Audition. Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. Like what was it? Like a year and a half ago, a year and 7 months ago. So we really look forward to going back to that. However, for another reason, as you know, when we do Audition, we travel with staff, we travel with faculty, and there's a number of obstacles in place. So to make things safer, we decided that as this year, we're just gonna do online auditions. But, you know, I cannot hide the fact from you that our leadership is looking to bring in the auditions back. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was something new announced in the next 6 months. Okay, so what I can recommend to you, I cannot really answer the question saying yes or no, but what I can say is stay connected with us, because if you're looking to do an in-person audition, we may be able to hear something new within the next 6 months.
Other questions for our artists about their experience, about their work. How about scholarships? I got a question about scholarships from the chat. So what's your, Torfun, what is your question specifically? Because that's a pretty broad topic. And anybody else that has a question, as Torfun is putting his thoughts or her thoughts together. maybe while we're waiting, go ahead, Dennis. Yeah, man. Well, Dennis is a Berkeley graduate, an incredible drummer, educator. He teaches at our global partner school in outside of Japan in Kanagawa, and he's an awesome musician, great person. Dennis, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey everybody, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Question to Volt. You said you are teaching now. Do you teach online or in person?
To me,
Yeah.
I teach now. I teach online because like all the school is closed now, and my international school is start to like move everything to be online again.
I see. So you teach at a school or just by yourself at your own school? Or?
I teach at a school as well and at my own school as well. So
Okay.
so at my own studio as well.
Okay. I was just wondering because here also everything is online and people try to avoid to meet each other and stuff. So I was wondering how it's in Thailand, like if you actually face to face or not.
It's
How do you
cannot
like
right
it
now,
online?
yeah.
Does it work out for you online?
It's hard. So personally, I not prefer to teach beginner online, but for teaching jazz, I am okay about like doing that. But like to teach a beginner, like to have to like talk about the physical thing, it's really hard, especially for violin. So because like normally with the student, especially like when with a young age, like under 10 years old, it's really hard to like keep them here. Just keep them okay, stay and not play, not do any feature, not do any whatever reaction on the on whatever, it's very hard. So like I more prefer to do with a more older student, or like a student who have a good basic already. Yeah.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Thank you.
So there are a couple of questions about scholarship at Berkeley, and maybe what I can do is just summarize this, and then Daniel, you can jump in. When you apply to Berklee College of Music, you're getting considered for scholarship at the same time. So it's part of the process when you apply for admission. You can go to Berkeley's website and read the complete details of the process of what it takes and how to prepare for your audition to Berkeley. The link, we just threw it in the chat, and Daniel's got the other link about preparing for the auditions. If you have other questions, what I would recommend is maybe Daniel, what's the best way for them to connect in with you?
Yeah, so my email address would be the best way to do that. It's aed@berkeley.edu, and I'm throwing that in the chat as well.
Cool.
And I shared both links because they're semi-related to each other. The first one is the manual on how to prepare for the audition, because obviously your ability to get scholarship is contingent upon your successful performance in the audition. And then together with that, there's also a list of available scholarships at Berkeley. This is more something that you need to look into after you get admitted. As prospective students, obviously, what you need to know is how to properly perform into the audition, because if you perform well, you're more likely to get a better scholarship, simply put.
And Gap, you're raising your hand, so how can we help, sir? What do you think?
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you let Walt explain about the audition in Thai? Because somebody maybe want to know.
Yeah, Volt, are you able to share Daniel's comments in Thai so that they can get the links and the details there?
Okay, sure. ก็ถ้าใครมีคำถามเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของการสอบเข้านะครับ สามารถติดต่อไปได้ที่อีเมลของ Daniel โดยตรงก็คือ ad@berkeley.edu นะครับ แล้วก็ในส่วนเรื่องของ scholarship เนี่ยเราก็จะมีข้อมูลในเว็บไซต์ทีนี้ถ้าใครมีคำถามอย่างเฉพาะเจาะจงเกี่ยวกับทุนการศึกษาเนี่ยครับก็ลองถามเข้ามาตรงนี้ได้เลยเหมือนกันครับ Yes.
Can you explain about how an audition? Like last time you get an audition.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk back about what Daniel said at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Okay. ได้ครับก็Berkeley Audition นะครับก็จะมีทั้งหมด2ระบบก็คือระบบที่เป็นออนไลน์กับระบบที่เป็นตัวต่อตัวก็คือเราก็ไปเจอ in person ได้เลยทีนี้จะมีทั้ง2ระบบก็คือเหมือนกันก็คือจะมี4ส่วนในการ Audition นะครับอันดับแรกก็คือเล่น performance การ perform เนี่ยเราก็คือจะใช้เวลาในการ perform 5 นาทีเลือกเพลงอะไรมาก็ได้5 นาทีอย่างตอนผมเลือก2 เพลงซึ่งเพลงแรกก็ตีเข้าไป4 นาทีแล้วอีกเพลงหนึ่งก็เลยไม่ได้เล่นอะไรเงี้ยครับเพราะนั้นเราก็ลองเตรียมเพลงที่เราเตรียมเผื่อไว้ก่อนก็ดีแต่ว่าก็พยายามจำกัดเวลาให้อยู่ภายใน5 นาทีนะครับอันนั้นเป็นperform ใช่ไหมครับแล้วก็อันดับที่2จะเป็นside reading เป็น side reading ก่อนใช่ไหมผมจำไม่ได้เรียงลำดับไม่ได้ว่าอันดับไหนก่อนหลังครับแต่ว่าแป๊บหนึ่งครับโอเคมีสไลด์มาแล้วโอเคอันดับที่2เป็น improvisation ก็คือเขาจะเลือกเป็น blues ให้เราลอง improvise อะไรก็ได้ลงไปใน blues นั้นซึ่งตรงเนี้ยถ้าใครอยากฝึกซ้อมอะไรเงี้ยครับลองเข้าไปดูในในรายละเอียดในเว็บไซต์ได้เขาจะมีพวกแบบว่า backing track ให้เราซ้อมด้วยแล้วเขาก็จะมีบอกคำแนะนำนิดนึงว่ามันสามารถฝึกยังไงได้บ้างอะไรเงี้ยครับหลักๆก็คือฝึก blues scale ครับถ้าเกิดเป็น blues นะครับก็ฝึกพวก blues scale มาแล้วก็ซ้อม improvise เล่นเน้นความต่อเนื่องเน้นความmusicality ของเราก็โชว์ออกมาเต็มที่ได้ในimprovisation นะครับต่อไปเป็น ear training ก็จะเป็นฟิลตอนของผมเป็น call and response นะครับก็คือเขาก็จะเล่นมาแล้วเราก็เล่นกลับเขาเล่นมาต่อเราก็เล่นไอสิ่งที่เขาเล่นเนี่ยครับกลับไปเล่นกลับไปกลับมาที่เนี้ยทริคของอันเนี้ยตอนของผมไม่รู้ว่าของคนอื่นเป็นไงนะของลูกกับเจนนี่ไม่แน่ใจว่าเป็นไงเหมือนกันแต่ว่าตอนของผมเนี่ยคือ ear training เนี่ยผมไม่รู้ว่าไอ้ที่เขาเล่นมาคือตั้งแต่ต้นของเพลงแล้วมันก็มาเรื่อยๆมาเรื่อยๆจนกระทั่งเต็มเพลงทีหลังแล้วเราก็ลืมอันแรกไปแล้วอะไรเงี้ยก็เลยพอเขาเล่นรันอีกทีนึงก็เลยหายหมดเลยแต่ว่าลองดูก็ได้ลองแบบว่าฝึกเปิดเพลงอะไรสักอย่างครับเปิดปุ๊บหยุดแล้วเราก็ลองเล่นตามเปิดต่อหยุดเราลองเล่นตามเปิดต่อหยุดเราลองเล่นตามทำอย่างเงี้ยทำให้มันเป็นการฝึกหูเราให้เราแบบคุ้นเคยกับการที่แบบฟังอะไรปุ๊บแล้วเราเล่นตอบกลับไปในสิ่งนั้นเป๊ะๆได้อย่างถูกต้องจริงๆอันสุดท้ายก็คือ sight reading นะครับ sight reading เนี่ยความง่ายของ sight reading อย่างหนึ่งก็คือก่อนที่เราจะเริ่มสอบอะครับเราจะมีเวลา15 นาทีที่เขาจะให้เราเข้าไปอยู่ในห้อง warm up room ก่อนซึ่งการที่เขาไปอยู่ในห้อง warm up room เนี่ยห้อง warm up room เนี่ยจะมีเอกสารให้เราดูว่าถ้าเกิด sight reading เราจะเจอกับอันนี้มีสิทธิ์ที่จะเจออันนี้เราก็อาจจะลอง warm up กับ sight reading exercise ในนั้นได้แล้วก็เราก็อาจจะได้เจอกับ sight reading exercise แบบนั้นได้ก็อันนี้เป็น4 ขั้นตอนของการ audition มาที่ Berkeley นะครับ Can you go to the next slide please ก็ต่อไปโอเคต่อไปก็เป็นเรื่องของทุนการศึกษาแล้วก็ additional resources นะครับก็ทุนก็คือจะมี merit base ก็จะมีแบบว่ามีเปอร์เซ็นต์นะครับว่าได้50%เขาไม่ใช่ Berkeley ไม่ได้แบ่งเป็นเปอร์เซ็นต์ Berkeley จะให้เป็นอย่างเช่น 7,000 เหรียญ 10,000 เหรียญ 20,000 เหรียญอะไรเงี้ยอันนี้เจนนี่กับลุกจำได้ไหมครับว่าเขาให้ต่อปีหรือว่าต่อเทอมนะ
น่าจะต่อเทอมนะถ้าจำไม่ผิด
ต่อเทอมเนาะ
ต่อ
อะไรนั้น
เหมือนจะเป็นต่อเทอม
ก็ถ้าเกิดเราได้ต่อเทอมเงี้ยเราก็สมมุติว่าได้ 20,000 เหรียญต่อเทอมเราก็ตัดไปว่าเราจะต้องจ่ายอีกเท่าไหร่อะไรเงี้ยครับนั่นคือ merit ถ้าเป็น president เนี่ยครับ
เขาจะให้ต่อเทอมแต่ว่าถ้าเกิดเป็นเทอมไหนที่เรียนแบบครึ่งไม่ได้เรียนเป็น full credit อะเรียนแบบอย่างซัมเมอร์เรียนแค่10 หน่วยกิตอะไรเงี้ยเขาก็จะคิดscholarship เราเป็นเปอร์เซ็นต์จากนั้น
โอเคซึ่งในขณะเดียวกันความทริกกี้ของตรง summer semester เนี่ยคือเราก็สามารถลงให้มันเต็มเครดิตได้ถ้าเราจะลงให้มันเต็มแล้วเราก็จะได้ scholarship ขึ้นมาซึ่งอันนี้เป็นคำแนะนำสำหรับหลายๆคนถ้าจะไปก็คือเทอม summer มันจะถูกกว่าแต่ scholarship ถ้าเราลงหน่วยกิตเท่ามันเป็นการเหมาจ่ายครับถ้าเราลงหน่วยกิตพอดีอ่ะมันก็จะได้ทุนการศึกษาก็จะไม่ลดทุนการศึกษาเท่าเดิมเพราะนั้นค่าใช้จ่ายในเดือนซัมเมอร์เนี่ยมันก็จะถูกลงถ้าเกิดจะต้องจ่ายเพิ่มนะครับก็ merit base ก็คือจะเป็นตามที่เขากำหนดให้ตอนที่พอเราสอบปุ๊บเอกสารที่มาว่าได้ติดแล้วนะแล้วเขาจะมีเอกสารอันนึงว่าติดแล้วได้ทุนเท่าไหร่ presidential scholarship รับน่าจะประมาณ7 คนต่อปีนะครับก็คือ presidential scholarship เนี่ยจะได้ทั้งทุนการศึกษาเต็มได้ทั้งหอพักซึ่งในหอพักเนี่ยมันก็คือรวมกับค่าอาหารที่เป็น meal pass ของแต่ละมื้อตอนที่เราเรียนอยู่ที่นั่นด้วยก็คือจะเป็นหอในเลยแล้วก็ distinguished ไม่แน่ใจว่า disengage นี้คืออะไรเหมือนกันเจนนี่พอทราบไหมเอ่ย
มันน่าจะเป็นพวก scholarship ที่แบบหลังจากพอเข้าไปเรียนเขาจะให้มี CWP scholarship แล้วก็มีแบบที่เป็นชื่อของคนที่เป็นสปอนเซอร์ต่างๆค่ะแล้วเขาให้
โอเค
scholarship น่าจะเป็น
เพราะฉะนั้นผมรู้สึกผมก็ได้เหมือนกันตอนที่เหมือนเราเรียนปุ๊บแล้วเขาจะมีแบบว่าเออเบสของอันนั้นเบสของอันเนี้ยแล้วเราก็จะได้เพิ่มมาสมมติว่าได้เพิ่มมา1,000 เหรียญได้เพิ่มมาเท่านั้นเท่านี้อะไรเงี้ยก็เป็นสิ่งที่เราขอเพิ่มได้หรือไม่ก็เป็นสิ่งที่แบบเขาออฟเฟอร์ให้ว่าเฮ้ยเทอมนี้เรียนดีเอานี่ไปอะไรเงี้ยครับ additional resources ก็คือเราสามารถทำงานในมหาลัยได้ซึ่งการทำงานในมหาลัยเนี่ยมีงานให้ทำเยอะมากครับเพราะว่า Berkeley รันโรงเรียนด้วยการให้นักศึกษาทำงานเป็นหลักเนาะโดยที่สตาฟเนี่ยก็จะเป็นคนคอยช่วยเหลือแนะนำมากกว่าแต่ว่าอย่างเวลาพวกแบบการบุ๊กห้องซ้อมคนที่ดูแลห้องซ้อมคนที่ดูแลอุปกรณ์นู่นนี่นั่นอะไรอย่างนี้ครับจะไม่ใช่อาจารย์จะเป็นตัวนักศึกษาที่ทำงาน on campus นะครับแล้วก็อันสุดท้ายเมื่อกี้เป็นอะไรนะทุนที่มาจากโรงเรียนโลคอลหรืออะไรอย่างนี้อันนี้ก็พวกเหล่านี้จริงเรื่องทุนการศึกษาครับลองไปสอบดูก่อนผมแนะนำให้ทุกคนลองไปสอบดูก่อนแล้วก็ค่อยๆลองคุยว่าเราติดปัญหาตรงไหนอะไรเงี้ยครับก็ลองคุยกับเขาเป็นเคส by เคสไปครับสำหรับทุนการศึกษาครับผม
Cool.
In a
Thank
nutshell.
you. Yeah. Thank you for taking time to do that. That was really important and very, very helpful. I've got one more question before we wrap up for today. It's a big question, but it's an important one with this audience, I think, for each of you, Jenny and Luke and Volt to share. And maybe you can each take pieces of it. Carrie's got a great question here. And this is something that at Berkeley, we've got a unique environment. We've got typically when we're all on campus, it's close to 5,000 students. And, close to 40% of them, between 35 and 40% of those students are from outside the United States. It's a very global community. Thankfully, we've worked really hard to bring students from around the world to the campus. But as somebody that has made the big step of leaving your country, coming to the United States to study music, that's huge. And there must have been a lot of adjustment. Can you just share a little bit about a couple of aspects of what that was like for you to make that big step from coming from Thailand to the United States, what it was personally like, what the cool things were about that experience, what the hard things were, and then maybe some of those things musically as well. What were the things that were striking to you that were hard for you musically, but the things that were also rewarding? Any one of you that would like to jump in and just kind of answer that I think that would be a great way to kind of wrap this up, is to touch on that point.
Yes, I can start off. I think like non-musically speaking, I didn't think there was a lot of difference we had to deal with. I really liked how Berkeley dealt with like the orientation. I think it really allowed the students to really connect. Like we all have that like one love for, everybody had a love for music coming in, right? So I think that's one thing that connected us at first. And then like even like the little things like waiting in line at the 160. I mean, was it one for the MacBooks back in the day?
Yeah, geez, what building were you in then? 160 wasn't there, so it was the building right next to the 150 building.
Tech Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even waiting in the line there, you just made friends and everything was like really good. But like musically speaking, you would just start feeling different when you went to the jam sessions, and people called out tunes and you were like, nope, I don't know it. That's about it. But everything else apart from that was, it was not bad. You don't really need a survival guide.
Yeah. How about you, Jenny? What was, this transition, for you coming from Thailand to the United States? You did the summer program, so you already had a little bit of the experience, but what was it like when you came as a full-time student?
I will say that the summer program and the real Berkeley, like the summer program, you get a glimpse of what Berkeley will be like, but the real Berkeley is like 10 million times better than the summer program. So if you already love the summer program, like you will just like really, really love Berkeley. For me, actually I think like Berkeley really changed my life in like the best way. I don't know, like my life kind of feels like it's divided into two parts, like before Berkeley and after Berkeley, and I feel like this school like completely changed who I am and like shaped my whole life. Like I'm not exaggerating, but like I don't even remember many things like before. I don't know. Like I will say that Berkeley at first I thought that it was going to be hard to adjust cuz I'm usually like before Berkeley, I was a very, very, very introverted person, and I was really bad at making friends. Like when I was going to Berkeley, like I actually had the mindset that like I gave up on making friends even before Berkeley, and I'm like I'm just gonna come here and like practice in a practice room, and then I'll just get out of it in as fast as possible and learn all the skills. That's what I thought, but then Berkeley changed my life. Like I went there and I wasn't trying to make friends, but friends like try to happen. You know what I mean? Like everyone's really nice and like everyone is like weird in a musical way. Like everyone, you just like you will find your people like soon enough. Like I think I took a long time, but I did like make like my best friends there. So I feel like the transitions are always hard. Like I think I spent the first semester like pretty lonely, but then after that I think like you just Berkeley like forces you to transition in a way. Like you just naturally transition, and this is coming from me who is really bad at transitioning to new places. Like I think that everyone will find their group in Berkeley.
Cool. And
Yeah.
Vol, to wrap this up, how about you, man? What was it like
Yeah.
coming to the United States and making
Uh,
this jump, this leap?
I still remember my first day in stage. It's like my first day for snow, and I moved from 30 degree to -15 at that day. Oh my God. That's the first time with snow, and the first time I had to like, okay, so what should I do? I don't know. I have no idea at all and no instruction. So, but like thing getting together like really fast, and like Luke said about the the orientation day, it's really like a ice breaking for you guys. If you go way before orientation or way before the school start, you might feel really lonely, but be patient. Be patient for when everyone come back, and it's gonna be like Jenny said, like everyone try to reach you out, everyone try to know about you. And yeah, even you are introvert person, but you're gonna be open a lot more than you think. So like I think Berkeley is like it's really fun to it's really fun, and it's really unique music school. It's very unique community, because like when people talk about a music school, especially like the music school that have a long history and a lot of good alumni, people will be like straight like, oh, this gonna be a it's gonna be a hard place to be, or it's gonna be like a place that I'm not belong there at all. But like when you're there, you're gonna know that like everyone is like be together really well, and most of people is very general to each other. And don't worry, you're gonna have a lot of work to worry about. I mean like the schoolwork to worry about, and friend gonna ask you for a lot of help, and you're gonna find a lot of good friend, a lot of good musician along the way, a lot of good one that like ask you to help, and you're gonna ask them to help as well when you do some projects. So it's gonna be a fun community for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, Carrie, your follow-up question here about what the survival guide is that's a whole other session. We'd have to dig into that. I mean, it's such an interesting topic, and we should actually think about following up and having a session with students
Yeah.
from outside the United States, and all those challenges, because it's definitely the immersion piece of connecting in and to a new culture, a new way of studying, a new way of networking. That's deep, And you know, we're out of time for today. What I'd like to do is I just want to, you know, if Luke and Jenny and Volt, if you could in the chat just put your social media or your websites in there so our audience can you know, follow you or come and check you out online, that would be great. And I'm going to add in another link here for people to go in and take a look at. Yep, there we go. Nice. Cool. Great. And then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here and staying for this entire session. I really want to thank Jenny and Volt and Luke for sharing their experiences and their insights, and also for our friends over at Yamaha Music School in Thailand for being great partners and supporting us. We have an upcoming event later today. We've got a session on the musical influences from Jamaica. This will be morning time for those of you in Thailand, but the link tree in there, linktree/Berkeley Global, there's a registration and detail about that event and other sessions from Global Connections and in the events that we're producing. We hope to see you back here, and I'm hoping that we can follow up and connect with our musical friends in Thailand soon. Actually, we've got another event coming up in May with the Yamaha Music School in Thailand. It's going to be a masterclass on composition with our chair of composition, Richard Carrick, and our assistant chair, Gabriele Venoni. And they're going to actually be working with students from the Yamaha Music School in Thailand. These are composition students. They're going to do a masterclass with them. So you're welcome to join us for that and check out the cool insights there. For now, wishing you all the best. Please, everybody, stay healthy. Keep creating music. Keep in touch with everyone. And I look forward to actually, you know, seeing my friends here soon, all of you, Dennis and everybody around the world. Hopefully we'll be back out on the road soon. Luke and Jenny and Volt, we will have to plan a dinner together when Daniel and I get back to Bangkok. We'll grab Gap and Yuttapong and all of our friends and hang out, okay? But thank you for your time. Everybody be well, and we'll see you soon.